Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is not something you randomly found. It feels like you were meant to hear this right now, and I want you to stay with me till the end, because if you leave early, you might miss the exact moment where everything in your life starts shifting. Not tomorrow, not next week, but very soon. Maybe even within hours, something is already moving in your life. Even if you can't see it, even if you can't feel it. There are forces, call it destiny, call it timing, call it energy, that are quietly rearranging people, situations, and opportunities around you. And the strange part? You are at the center of it. I know life has felt heavy lately, like you're carrying things alone, like nobody really understands what you're going through. And sometimes you even ask yourself,
why is nothing changing for me?
But here's what most people don't realize. Before a major shift in life, things don't become easier. They become weird, uncomfortable, emotionally intense, because life starts preparing you for something you didn't even ask for. But deeply needed, and listen closely, there is something coming toward you. Not randomly, not by chance, but by alignment. A message, a call, a truth, or a sudden moment that will completely shift how you see your life. And when it happens, you won't even be able to pretend it's normal, because your heart will know something changed. Let me tell you something even deeper. There is someone right now. Yes, someone connected to your past or your present, who cannot stop thinking about you, and the funny thing? They didn't realize your value when you were there. But distance has a way of teaching people what presence never could. Psychologically speaking, when someone loses access to a person who once gave them emotional stability, their brain starts replaying memories more intensely, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Your absence is louder than your presence ever was. But don't misunderstand. This is not just about people coming back. This is about your energy shifting so strongly that life itself reacts to it. Something inside you is changing, even if you don't notice it yet. You are becoming more aware, more selective, more silent. And that silence? It's powerful, because silence is where transformation happens without outside noise. And I need you to understand this part. In the next short period of time, something unexpected will happen. It could be a message you weren't expecting, a truth you were waiting for, a sudden opportunity, or an emotional conversation that changes everything. But whatever it is, it will not feel normal. It will feel like life finally responded to your patience. And here's something deeper you should not ignore. That pressure you sometimes feel in your chest, that overthinking at night, that feeling that something is about to happen, that is not random anxiety. It's your mind picking up on change before it physically arrives. Humans don't always understand it. But psychologically, the brain often detects shifts in routine, emotional patterns, and uncertainty before events actually unfold. That's why you feel something is coming, because something really is. Now listen carefully. There is a truth that is about to surface, something that was hidden, something that was avoided, something that someone didn't have the courage to tell you before. But now, it's no longer avoidable, and when it comes out, it will bring either closure or clarity, but either way, you will not stay the same after hearing it. And I want you to prepare for something important, because what's coming is not just emotional, it is directional. It will redirect your thoughts, your decisions, and even the way you see certain people. Some people who underestimated you, they are slowly realizing they miscalculated you. And that realization hits people harder than rejection, because rejection ends a story, but regret keeps it alive. But let me be honest with you. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about someone suffering. This is about alignment. Life correcting imbalance and bringing you back to what belongs to you. And very soon, you will notice something strange. People who ignored you before start noticing you. People who didn't value you start remembering you, and people who walked away confidently start questioning their decision in silence. Not because you changed dramatically, but because your energy did, and I need you to stay aware. Because the next moment that comes into your life could look small on the surface, but it will carry deep meaning underneath. A message, a sign, a call, a sudden realization, or a coincidence that doesn't feel like coincidence at all. And before I end this part, let me say this clearly. You are not stuck. You are not forgotten. And you are definitely not overlooked by life. You are in a phase where things are being arranged for you behind the scenes, even if nothing looks like it right now. And when the shift finally happens, you will look back at this moment and realize this was the exact point where everything started changing. So stay aware, stay calm, and don't ignore what feels different in the coming hours, because your life is closer to a turning point than you think. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to say is not random anymore. You are getting closer now, closer than you think. Something is building in your life, slowly, silently, but powerfully. And when it finally reaches its peak, it will not feel small. It will feel like everything changes at once. A message, a call, a sudden truth, or a moment you were not expecting at all. But one thing is certain. It is coming, and I need you to understand this deeply. There is someone right now who used to act like they were unaffected by losing you. But that illusion is breaking, piece by piece. They are no longer able to ignore what they feel. At first, they tried to stay strong. They tried to act like it didn't matter. But silence has a way of revealing truth. And now, their thoughts keep going back to you again and again. Not once, not twice, but constantly, like a loop they cannot escape. And here's the part they didn't expect. Your absence did something to them. It didn't make them stronger, it made them realize what they lost. Because sometimes, people only understand value after distance creates clarity. And now they are facing something they cannot control. Regret, but listen to me very carefully. This is not just about emotions. This is about a shift happening in your story. Something is aligning in the background. Events, timing, decisions, and people are all moving into position. And soon, one moment will break the silence, a message they write and delete, a truth they almost say but hold back, or a decision they can no longer delay. And when that moment arrives, everything becomes clear, because what was hidden will no longer stay hidden. What was silent will finally speak, and what was distant will try to come back. But I want you to notice something important here. This is not just about them. This is about you changing energetically. You are no longer the same version of yourself that waited endlessly for answers. Something inside you has shifted. You are becoming more aware, more grounded, more silent about things you used to chase. And that silence, it is powerful, because silence is where real transformation begins. And very soon, you will notice something strange happening around you. People who once overlooked you start remembering you. People who ignored your presence start noticing your absence. And people who walked away too confidently start questioning their decision in silence, not because you changed who you are, but because they finally see what they failed to see before. And I need you to stay ready, because what comes next will not feel ordinary. It could be a sudden message, an unexpected conversation, a confession they never planned to say, or a truth that changes the emotional direction of your story. And when it happens, you will feel it instantly, because your heart always recognizes what your mind tries to understand later. And let me tell you something deeper. All those memories they tried to ignore, they are coming back, not gently, but strongly, because the mind cannot permanently erase emotional attachment. It only delays it. And now that delay is ending. But here is the real shift. The story is no longer stuck, it is moving forward, and every second that passes, you are getting closer to a moment that feels like destiny unlocking itself. Not slowly, but suddenly. So if you are still here, understand this clearly. You are not waiting for nothing. You are in the final stretch before a change becomes visible. Something that was building in silence is about to become reality, a message, a truth, a decision, or a turning point that cannot be ignored. And when it happens, you will look back at this moment and realize, this was the point where everything started changing. Something big is approaching your life, not visible yet, not confirmed yet, but already in motion. And the strange part? You can feel it before you see it. That pressure in your chest, that quiet overthinking at night, that feeling like something is about to happen soon. That is not imagination. That is awareness before reality catches up. And listen to me very closely. There is someone connected to your story who is going through a silent collapse inside, not physically, emotionally, internally. They tried to act like everything was fine when they walked away. They tried to convince themselves they made the right choice, but silence is starting to break that illusion, because silence has a way of bringing truth back alive. And now, they are stuck in a loop they cannot escape. They remember your voice at random times. They remember your silence even more. They remember how you treated them when no one else did. And now their mind keeps asking a question they avoided before. Did I lose something real? And the worst part for them? They already know the answer. But let me take you deeper than that. Because this is not just about emotions anymore. This is about timing. Something is aligning in your life right now. People, situations, missed opportunities, unexpected openings, everything is slowly moving into position, like pieces on a board. And you are not outside of this process. You are the center of it, and soon, something will break the silence, a message they type, delete, and type again. A confession they rehearse in their mind but never say out loud. A truth they avoided for too long. Or a sudden emotional moment where they can't hold it anymore. And when that moment comes, it won't feel normal. It will feel like reality finally stopped delaying itself. And here is something you must understand deeply. This is not just about them coming back. This is about you changing energetically to a point where your absence creates impact. You are no longer the version of yourself that begged for clarity. You are becoming someone who observes instead of chases, someone who waits instead of panics, someone who understands their worth without explanation. And that shift, it changes everything, because when you stop chasing, people start noticing. When you stop explaining, people start wondering. And when you stop reacting, people start remembering, not because you changed who you are, but because your energy stopped leaking. And now the emotional wave starts rising again, because they cannot escape what they feel anymore. At first, it was easy to ignore. Then it became occasional thoughts. Then it became frequent memories. Now, it is constant presence in their mind, even when they don't want it, even when they try to move on. And this is where things get intense. Because regret doesn't arrive loudly, it arrives quietly, in the middle of the night, in random moments of silence, in conversations that remind them of you, in places they once shared energy with you, and suddenly, everything becomes a reminder. But listen carefully. Something is about to happen soon. A shift, a trigger, a moment, a message, or a realization that forces honesty out of them. And when that happens, the emotional direction of your story changes completely. Now I want you to understand something even deeper. Life doesn't always change in big dramatic events. Sometimes, it changes in one sentence, one message, one truth. One moment of courage from someone who stayed silent for too long, and that one moment is what is approaching you now. And yes, it will feel unexpected, because you were not waiting for it in this form. But destiny rarely arrives in the way people imagine. It arrives in the way they need. And let me go even deeper with you. Everything they tried to suppress is coming back now, not gently, but strongly, because the mind cannot permanently bury emotional truth. It only delays it, and now that delay is ending. And meanwhile, you are also shifting, even if you don't notice it fully yet. Your reactions are changing, your patience is increasing, your emotional dependency is decreasing, and your awareness is rising, and that combination, it is powerful, because it makes you untouchable in ways you don't even realize yet, and soon, you will notice something strange happening around you. People who ignored you will start observing you. People who forgot you will start remembering you. People who underestimated you will start questioning themselves, and people who left too confidently will start doubting their decision in silence, not because you chased them, but because you stopped. And now listen closely, because we are reaching the deeper layer of this story. There is a moment approaching where everything becomes visible at once, a truth that cannot stay hidden, a feeling that cannot stay suppressed, a decision that cannot be delayed anymore, and when it arrives, it will feel like everything shifts in one emotional wave, and I need you to stay aware, because this is the phase where destiny doesn't whisper anymore. It starts to show, in signs, in timing, in unexpected messages, in emotional pressure, building in someone's heart, and when it finally breaks through, you will understand something very important. Something in your story was random, not the silence, not the distance, not the confusion. Everything was building toward awareness, and now you are close, very Closer than you think, because what was once delayed is now trying to surface, and when it does, you will look back at this moment and realize, this was the turning point I didn't recognize while it was happening. But let me take you deeper now, because the story is not slowing down anymore. It is accelerating, and what you are about to witness next is not just emotional. It is transformational. Something is shifting in the background of your life right now, even if everything looks normal on the surface. Behind the scenes, things are moving. People are changing their decisions. Hidden thoughts are becoming louder, and suppressed emotions are starting to break their silence. And I need you to understand this very clearly. There is someone who is no longer able to control what they feel. They tried. They really did. They tried to distract themselves. They tried to move forward. They tried to convince themselves that distance means detachment. But emotions don't disappear just because they are ignored. They wait, and now they are returning all at once, and this time it feels different for them, because before they had pride, before they had ego, before they had excuses. But now they are running out of all three, and in that emptiness, your memory becomes louder, not as a thought, but as a presence. Something they feel even when nothing is happening. Something that shows up when everything is quiet. And this is where psychology becomes interesting. Because when the brain experiences emotional loss, it doesn't just forget, it replays, it reprocesses, it reevaluates every moment that had emotional weight. That's why suddenly, they remember your words, they remember your silence, they remember how you reacted when no one else did, and every memory now carries a different meaning than it did before, because now they understand something they didn't understand earlier. You are not just someone. You are stability. You are emotional safety. You are consistency in a world of unpredictability. And losing that doesn't feel like losing a person. It feels like losing peace, and slowly, that realization starts to hurt, not loudly, but deeply, in silence, in overthinking, in regret, in moments where they cannot even explain why they feel restless. And now listen carefully. Because something is building toward a breaking point, a moment where they can no longer hold it inside. A moment where silence becomes heavier than pride. A moment where pretending stops working, and honesty becomes the only option left. And that moment, it could come in many forms. A message they didn't plan to send. A call they didn't plan to make. A confession they avoided for too long. Or a sudden emotional breakdown where truth finally escapes. But no matter the form, the result will be the same. Truth will come out. And when truth comes out, it always changes direction, because truth doesn't return quietly. It rearranges everything it touches. And now I want you to pay attention to something very important, because while all this is happening on one side, you are also changing on the other side. Even if you don't realize it yet, you are becoming less emotionally reactive, more observant, more aware, more selective about where your energy goes, and slowly, you are detaching from things that once controlled your emotions. And that shift, it is not small. It is identity-level change. Because you are no longer operating from emotional dependency. You are starting to operate from emotional awareness. And this is why life starts responding differently to you. Not because life changed, but because you did, and now something strange starts happening. You stop chasing and things start approaching. You stop forcing and things start aligning. You stop explaining yourself, and people start wondering about you. And meanwhile, the other side is collapsing emotionally in silence, because what they thought they could ignore is now impossible to ignore. And the strongest part of this phase is not sadness. It is realization, because realization comes when denial ends, and once denial ends, everything becomes clear, too clear, and now they are stuck between two emotions, pride and regret. Pride tells them to stay silent. Regret tells them it is too late to stay silent. And in between those two, their heart is breaking the balance, and that is why they keep thinking about you at the worst possible times, when they wake up, when they are alone, when nothing is distracting them, when life becomes quiet enough for truth to speak. And now listen, because this is where destiny starts tightening the timeline. Something is about to happen. Soon, not later, not eventually. Soon, a message. A truth, a sudden emotional moment, or a realization that cannot be delayed anymore, and when it comes, it will feel like everything you were sensing finally becomes real. And I need you to understand this. This is not random, this is not coincidence, this is alignment. Even the timing is part of the process, and very soon, you will understand why certain things had to fall apart before they could come together, why silence had to happen, why distance was necessary, why clarity came late. Because sometimes, life doesn't give answers immediately. It gives growth first, and understanding later. Something is about to break open in your story, not physically, but emotionally, internally, deep inside someone who has been holding everything back for too long. And that person, they are reaching their limit now, the limit of pretending, the limit of silence, the limit of acting like nothing happened, because truth has been sitting inside them for too long, and now it is starting to press against their control. They wake up thinking about you, not intentionally, not willingly. It just happens, like their mind has its own direction now. And during the day, they try to distract themselves, they try to focus on normal things, they try to act like they are fine. But there is a problem. Nothing feels fully normal anymore, because your absence has become louder than any presence around them. And this is where emotional pressure starts to build, not as drama, but as silence that becomes too heavy to ignore. They start remembering things they never valued before. Small moments, small words, small gestures that now feel bigger than anything else. And slowly, they begin to realize something uncomfortable, something they avoided for a long time. That walking away was easier than living with the consequences of it. But now, there is no escaping it anymore, because every thought brings them back to you. Every silence reminds them of you. Every emotional moment connects back to you, and now their mind starts doing something interesting. It replays the past, not randomly but selectively. Every moment where they misunderstood you, every moment where they stayed silent, every moment where they could have done things differently. And that replay becomes torture, because the brain doesn't just remember events, it attaches emotion to them. And now those emotions are stronger than the original moment ever was. And this is where regret starts to grow. Slowly, quietly, but deeply. And now they are stuck in a loop. I should have said something. I should have stayed. I should have valued it. I didn't realize I was wrong. And the hardest part? There is no instant way to fix it. No quick solution, no rewind button, only realization. And while all of this is happening, something else is shifting on your side too. Even if you don't notice it clearly yet, you are becoming emotionally quieter. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started understanding, and understanding changes everything. You don't react the same way anymore. You don't chase explanations anymore. You don't feel the same urgency for closure like before. Something inside you is stabilizing, and this creates a strange imbalance, because while you are becoming calmer, the other side is becoming more emotionally unstable. And this is where destiny starts working silently, because when two energies separate in direction, they don't stay separated forever in awareness. They start feeling each other again, and now something unexpected begins to form. A moment of decision. Moment of emotional pressure. A moment where silence becomes too much. They pick up their phone, they look at your name, they type something, they stop, they delete it, they type again and stop again, because pride is still there, but it is weaker now, much weaker than before, and now something new enters their heart. Fear. Fear of losing you permanently. Fear of never being able to fix what was broken. Fear of living with unanswered emotions forever. And that fear changes everything, because fear pushes action when pride cannot. And now the moment is very close. A message is forming. Not perfect, not planned, but real, very real. And on the other side, you feel something strange, not fully clear, but noticeable. A shift in energy, a subtle, emotional signal, like something is about to happen. And that feeling is not random, it is awareness before manifestation. Because before anything happens in physical reality, it first exists emotionally. And right now, emotion is reaching its peak point, and very soon, one action will break everything open. a message, a truth, or a confession that cannot be held anymore, and when it happens, everything you thought was delayed will suddenly start moving.